Hey guys, welcome in. Happy Friday. Hope everybody's doing well. If you guys are ready for a good holiday, it's for us for me, I guess it's Christmas Eve afternoon. So hope everybody's get ready to have a time doing some good things this week or this weekend. Uh, Welcome to our Friday Q&A. Happy holidays to all of you. Um, this is your time, right? So ask whatever you want to ask. Talk to me about anything that you have going on. Any questions that you might have, or anything that you've seen over the last few weeks or so. Like I said, I'm trying to do this every couple weeks for you. Waving back at everybody. Welcome back in. Happy Friday. Let's talk about some fun fitness and performance assessments and exercise intervention. So whatever you guys think or whatever's on the top of your head, feel free to shout. And for my regulars that see me all the time, welcome back in. Hope everybody's doing well. Love the app, lots of knowledge and easy to use. I appreciate that. The app specifically is a continuous kind of process that we're working on here. We're trying to optimize and optimize and optimize, hopefully making it easier and easier for you guys to access courses and use it. So, feedback is always appreciated. Things that might be glitchy or something that gets in your way or anything like that, shoot us a support email and we'll get on top of it as soon as we can. Obviously, the website is in the same boat, constantly trying to progress and make it better and better and better. Um, what are your thoughts on certifications for a newly grad PTA? Well, first of all, congratulations. You made it right through PTA school, or um, uh, when it comes to certifications, obviously you just have to think about um, you'd have to think about what you ultimately want to do. So, as a PTA, do you want to work in a clinic? Because as a PTA, you're always going to be under the watchful eye of the PT or the clinicians, and you might not need really anything. But if you are looking to kind of branch out and go off on your own and do something on your own, then maybe a certification would be beneficial for you. It just gives you a greater scope or a greater, more tools in the toolbox, so to speak. So, as a PTA plus personal trainer, that might be a really great thing. You have a lot more techniques that you can do than a traditional personal trainer, since you do have the PTA side of things. Um, Now, you have lots of certifications out there. There's lots of options, and you really have to kind of weigh your options and weigh what is going to work best for you. You can certainly, I would recommend the easier, cheaper version would be obviously the Brook Bush CPT, and then you progress to the HMS, and even the IMT, since you do have some hands-on manual therapy in your belt. And that's only, that's 19 bucks a month, and you can do as many courses as you want with that, or as few courses as you want with that, and get your certification that way. So, if that's kind of what you're looking for, then great. I would steer you to the cheaper alternative of, the Brook Bush Institute side of things. Um, that might be simple and easy for you, and obviously less expensive than five, six, seven, $5,000 of a certification, for some of the other companies. But you have to really kind of weigh what you really want to do and what you're looking for. So hopefully that's helpful. Um, the GOTA guys, you know, I don't bash anybody. We try not to bash anybody. We try not to talk bad, because people are, for the most part, I think people are trying to just give information and trying to teach and trying to get people to learn and trying to get people excited about learning. So I can't necessarily fault some people. Others are just trying to get you to, clickbait side of things and whatever. But um, you know, at the end of the day, I think you really have to just go back to proper movement is proper movement, regardless of how you want to wrap it, right? Um, I think if you kind of keep in line what the standard kind of operating procedure, the SOP of human movement, right? So you have kind of where positioning should be, what optimal is, like where best function is in regards to length tensions, and just kind of have that be your baseline. You're gonna find that no matter what, like everybody kind of comes back to that. They just kind of say it in different ways, but everybody ultimately comes back to let's position this person in the best possible position to reduce injury, to maximize performance. Like it all ends up being the same stuff. It's just their little take or their little twists. And, you know, I am not a fan of certain things. I think there are extremes. People go to the extremes to try and you know, gain relevancy or whatever you might call it. But it all comes back to let's position this person in the best position possible position to reduce injury, improve performance, the end. Right. So I don't know. There's stuff out there that I like. There's stuff out there that I don't like. There's stuff that are at those extremes, but you got to take what your foundational layer of information, take the credible, reliable, evidence-based, evidence-backed information and use that as your ground floor, and you'll start to weed out some of that extra stuff that's out there. Right. So, like I said, I'm not bashing on anybody. Like, we're all professionals, or at least should be professionals in this field. And we're all trying to get our clients or patients back to optimal or back to increase their performance or whatever. But we have to make sure that we get we shoot for that maximal potential in the shortest period of time, kind of optimizing outcome in the shortest period of time. That should be our gold standard, right? So it shouldn't be, I can get anybody bigger, but if it takes 10 years, was that really the best method for me to use? If there's somebody who wants to get bigger and I can do it in a shorter period of time, or when it comes to rehab, I can get anybody, rehabbed from a surgery, but if it takes 10 years, did I really do the best job, right? So, that's something that you have to kind of go back. Good questions. Keep firing them off. I like all this stuff. Right? And like I said, I'm not bashing anybody because we're all hopefully professionals and trying to do what's best for the populations that we work with. How to encourage or stimulate gastric contractions to be able to walk again without limping after nerve damage. You need to go see somebody and go work with a physical therapist and neurologist and really kind of have collaborative effort with a team of professionals that are there for you. Obviously, when it comes to nerve issues, nerve damage, herniated disc issues, things like that, like there's deeper things that you'll need to do, and you shouldn't just go, oh well, they have glute bridges or like there's way more that needs to be done than that. So, unfortunately, I can't really give you any significant advice. The fact that you're up and trying is the best possible thing you can be doing, right? So just keep going, keep trying, keep making sure you're with a good group of professionals who are taking care of you, and that's it. Just put forth an effort. Just keep going. Just keep going. You'll be fine. Time heals all things, right? That's what they tell me. Uh, yeah, Rocky, I'm torn with them. Yeah, sure. I'm there's some people that I follow and I like and I've looked up to for years and years and years coming through the field. Um, and there's some things that you're always going to disagree on, and some things that you're always going to, you like, and some things and that's okay. That's part of having an opinion for yourself, and that's perfectly fine as long as your opinion is backed by, some sort of evidence, not just feelings or not just because it looks cool, right? Um, I can't help you with the ache on the pelvis. There's a lot of things you have to go through an assessment, right? Do your assessment. Maybe go see somebody if it's bothering you or if it has been bothering you for a long period of time. Go see somebody. Obviously, if it is something a little bit more serious, you might need some intervention. But I think if it's something that's bothering you and limiting your everyday daily activities, go see somebody about it. Go get it addressed by a professional. Don't self-diagnose. That's the worst possible thing you can do. Right? Adonis, what's happening? Um, Recommendation for the order of activations. So there is a little bit of an order. Let's call it an order of operations for activations and dealing with. Let's just call it corrective exercise. So we've talked a lot on here, and if you're familiar with our courses, we've talked a lot about kind of the mobility side. That should come first. Release techniques first, joint mobilizations, if you're familiar and comfortable with them, second, lengthening techniques third. Right. So we're good there. That's the mobility sequence. That has to come first. Once we obviously do your assessment and identify what needs to be released, mobilized, and lengthened. And then when it comes to activation, start with isolated activations. With isolated activations, the goal is to increase neural drive to those assessed underactive muscles. So those isolated activations are going to be, 12 to 20 reps of a slower tempo, of a, let's call it a 2 second. There's a couple different ways that you can do this, but we start with a 4 second eccentric, 2 second isometric hold, so a 4-2-1 tempo, or you could do kind of like a 2 second eccentric, 4 second isometric hold, 2 second constant. So you can kind of play around with some of the tempos there, but it's a fairly long duration of time under tension when it comes to our isolated activation. So isolated activations first. Core activations could go, second in there, right? So you could do, if we're looking at lower body, you could do some like clamshells, do some kind of hip extensions. Then you can start throwing in, let's say, like quadrupeds, right? So you have isolated activations, core activations. You can go into like I'll skip the stability integration, but like single leg stuff or ITY movements, reactive activations, and then you have your subsystem integrations where you're starting to come into like a full body kind of movement pattern, so to speak. That would be the order of operations, right? So you have isolated activation first, increase neural drive. Core activation second, increase neural drive to your kind of intrinsic subsystem or intrinsic stabilization subsystem. So your TBA, right? Stability integration, if you're familiar with that. If you're not, go ahead and that's kind of optional. Then you're reactive, and the reactive activations are there to help decelerate or kind of control movements. So you do like mini band shuffles or forward backward hopping or things like that for lower body. And then subsystem integration, which would be kind of those putting all those pieces together. That would be the order, right? That's where you're going to get kind of the biggest bang for your buck, so to speak. So, like you said, glute activation. I kind of gave you that example there, but hopefully that's helpful. And again, if you go out of order, it's not necessarily a bad thing, but there's better ways. You want to make sure you're doing single joint stuff or isolated stuff first. If not, you're going to get contribution from some of those overactive synergists. That's really what we're trying to do. So, that should be your mindset when it comes to that is how can I limit or how can I minimize the overactive synergists from contributing to an activation exercise when I'm trying to focus on one specific muscle, like the glutes, for example. Hopefully that's helpful. If it's not helpful, Adonis asked me something else. You're always really good with that. So if that's not clear, let me know. How to join in the human movement course? You can join the website and then you're in. There are no additional fees. There are no additional anything. Once you're a member to the course, you have access to all of those. Or once you're a member to the website, you have access to all of those courses, and they are there for you. So all those certified personal trainings, the human movement, that's all included. So just jump on the website while you're hanging out over the holidays, right? Cool, cool, cool. What else we got? We got anything? I don't use the Holton curve for exercise dosage. I don't necessarily use any of that. What I do use, and when it comes to exercise, I'm going to stick to the performance side of things and not use anything when it comes to like rehab or anything like that. But when it comes to the programming side of things, what I tend to stick to and what the research actually shows and is abundantly clear by multiple researchers, actually, not just one, um, is you're looking at about 6 sets per muscle group when it comes to optimal structural changes, structural breakdown. So when you start programming, you don't have to do 35 sets of chest exercises or 50 sets of chest exercises. 6 sets, and then you've hit your adaptation potential. As long as those sets were working sets, were challenging enough, we're looking at roughly 80% ish, 1 rep max intensity side of things. 6 sets is all you need, right? And then you're done. That training potential is finished for that muscle group. You can continue training other muscle groups, but let's say for upper body, for example, chest, all you need is 6 good working sets when it comes to, like, hypertrophy or general strength, 6 good working sets, and that pretty much is it for chest, right? You're done. Your adaptation potential is over. You have essentially diminishing returns for additional sets, and it can actually be, um, inhibiting returns if you're pushing that muscle tissue, further and further into more and more sets. So, there's some interesting stuff out there when it comes to the repetition ranges and sets. We actually have some uh, set information coming out soon as a course with more of that info for you guys. Like I said, specifically for hypertrophy and general strength adaptations. When it comes to more like max strength or power, there's some different set recommendations there for the most part, or for some of those things. But really, here's how you know the best and easiest way that you can kind of gauge when you need to kind of call it quits for that muscle part or that body part. I'm going to use chest because it's easy, so you can kind of see me if we're doing bench press. You can kind of picture bench press. If I know I can do, let's just say, 10 reps with a specific weight, call it 200 pounds, doesn't matter, right? Whatever you can do for 10 reps. I'm going to load that bar up with, I'll do my warm up, do my corrective exercise warm up, whatever. I'm going to do my first working set with 200 pounds for 10 reps. I'm going to not change the weight, right? I don't want to change the load because I don't want to take weight off because I know I can do 200 pounds. So if I start taking weight off, I'm not giving that same adaptation stimulus to my muscles, right? So I'm going to keep that on and I'm going to go set number 2. And I want to stick within the parameters of hypertrophy, let's say 6 to 12 rep range. So I'm going to get, let's say, 9. Well, that's cool. I'm still within those parameters. So I have earned another set. I still have some adaptation potential to go. So set number 3 comes along. I get 7. I'm still within my training parameters of 6 to 12 reps. I'm still keeping 200 pounds. Set number 4, I get 6. Awesome. 6 to 12 rep range. That's my parameters. I've earned myself another set. And let's say on set number 5, I only get like 2 or 3 because I'm toast at that point. I'm done. My training adaptation or my training potential for the chest is over. I don't need to do more chest exercise. I don't necessarily need to take weight off and do more reps of a bench. I'm done. I'm done. Move on to something else. Move on to back or move on to, whatever. My chest adaptations are over. And that's kind of what I use for exercise dosing versus formulas or percentages or anything like that. Yes, impatient. Aren't we all? We want to see stuff right now. That's our downfall, right? When it comes to rehab, when it comes to recovery, when it comes to hypertrophy, when it comes to strength, we want to like see those results immediately, and it is very frustrating. But you can't give up, right? That's the big thing. I'm a lanky, scrawny, 6'8", 9-ish, kid. I'm gonna call myself a kid. Uh, I've been frustrated why I'm not, I want to be the biggest person in the gym, and it's been frustrating for 20 some years, right? So, but you can't give up, right? You just keep going. You do the best you can with what you got, and you keep going from there. So, don't be frustrated, especially when it comes to rehab. Just takes time. Let's see what's going on. What else anybody has? Trust the process, Jody. That's right. Trust the process. Just like my Sixers. Trust the process. And basketball fans, you know my pain. Um, any Philly basketball fans, you know my pain. But yes, Jody, trust the process, and you'll be fine. Um, I do think Barber by Faith. Good seeing you again. Happy holidays. If you have some sciatic issues, um, if you have some sciatic issues and low back issues and pain issues, and you fall in the snow and cold, it probably will irritate some things. Yes, it will make it worse. Uh-oh, Jody, you're an Embiid person as well, huh? Those Sixers. Let's see. I miss Ben Simmons. No. Honestly, I've been bad a tangent here, not fitness or performance related at all. I've never really liked Ben Simmons, even back before the whole saga. But that's, opinion. Everybody's entitled to it, I guess. Um, Go Eagles! That's all I gotta say. No, but hopefully that the going back to the hypertrophy side of things, and really just kind of the training parameters, because it is something that's really missed. Is we try and just kind of push ourselves into the ground, and we have to go back to kind of one of those principles that was probably just kind of quickly brushed upon in any of your education prior was that gas principle, that general adaptation syndrome, that Hans Seeley kind of you have kind of the introduction to a stimulus, the uh, response that your body makes, and in that like exhaustion phase when you're continuously pushing, you know, causing or throwing stimuli at that muscle tissue, you're going to end up kind of hitting that exhaustion phase and kind of just getting burnt out or having kind of reverse effects of what you're thinking. So instead of building muscle, you're ending up with like injuries and all those fun itises of kind of overtraining. All that stuff is a real thing. So you have to be very diligent and very mindful. And the other big piece to all of this, when it comes to hypertrophy and general strength and all of that fun stuff, is you want to hit those body parts if you're doing kind of split training, upper body, lower body, about 2 times a week. It's pretty much what the research shows. About 2 times a week is all you need. Um, so you don't need to do chest every day. You don't need to do legs every day. You don't need to do, I don't know, shoulders every day. You have 2 times a week. If you're doing kind of 6 sets or so, um, that's kind of what you're, anywhere from 1 to 6 sets, depending on where you kind of crash and burn. That's really what you're looking for. And we talk a lot about that in our program design course, but obviously, collaborate with me more if you want to know more on that. Cool. Let's see what else you guys have for me in the next couple minutes. Sorry if I missed something. Go back. To speed up, also to just kind of throw some stuff out there, speed up recovery. Um, we go back to some of the same stuff. Sleep, right? Make sure you're sleeping well, eating the right stuff, taking care of all that. Um, BFR is becoming more and more prevalent now. Obviously, if it's neural stuff, it's different. But if you're rehabbing injury and you have um, access, or if you have a physiotherapist or a physical therapist that has BFR, that's shown some pretty good promise. Um, there are things like that. Acupuncture has also pretty decent when it comes to some release as a release technique for muscle tissues, right? So there's some good information on acupuncture as well. You just have to make sure you're going to somebody that you trust and Don't just kind of go, hey, you want to stick some needles in me? Like that's not. Don't you get like the home acupuncture kit? Make sure you're going to somebody that you know. Actually, Jody on BFR, I'm sorry, is blood flow restriction. They have different, like, almost look like blood pressure cuffs, and that restricts blood flow. You do a set, open it up, you get a big flush. There's some good info on there. You can check some of those things out. The ice, there's some good info on ice, and actually, it was just collaborating with somebody that I really trust and know and like about ice, um, it can be detrimental. Like the ice baths can be detrimental to performance if you're looking for those adaptations. And that's where we also have to think about like your body adapts to a stimulus. Your body adapts to the stressors and the kind of byproducts of exercise and training and things like that. So if you're using ice to kind of reduce those stressors, you're potentially reducing the adaptation stimulus. So it's interesting things there. Now, if you're in performance, like if you're playing basketball in the game, your sports, your training should have already been done. Your adaptation should have already been done when you're in your off season and things like that. So like ice the knees, ice the shoulders if you're a thrower, things like that. That's fine to reduce inflammation during sport, but potentially to reduce those to use ice all the time or cryo all the time or all that stuff all the time, you're potentially reducing the stimulus that your body's going to adapt to. So there is some interesting stuff coming out in the literature to think about with that, right? Maybe ice isn't the best thing to use all the time, but could be beneficial sometimes, depending on what you're doing. So, yeah, it's interesting take there, Jody. There's great, yeah. So great things. The off season, feel the burn. Yep, torture them in the off season. You want that soreness, that DOMS, right? That feeling of like, hey, you know what? I feel like I worked out, not to the point of like I can't move DOMS, like I crushed my body so much that I can't walk for a week. That's not good either. You want to get that like, hey, you know what? I did something yesterday, right? Like I feel sore, but good sore. That's a good stimulus. That's what we should shoot for, not the I feel crushed or let me not have any feeling soreness whatsoever. Let me ice everything because that may be detrimental. So yes, off season when it comes to sports performance, off season, yeah, get them sore, get those athletes sore. During season, post game, things like that, yeah, ice them up, right? We want to prevent some of that inflammatory response. So hopefully that's helpful. Like I said, I was just collaborating the other day with a colleague of mine about that, and there's some profound stuff, and actually, um, there's some. There's a few people that have, I think, recently posted or done talks on that, so you can maybe search for that online. So yeah, the cold bath side of things after exercise kind of goes along the same lines. Maybe not the best for um, recovery, for perform or for adaptations potentially. So it just depends. There's a lot of other I don't like that answer as an educator. I don't like it depends, but there are some things that could go into that conversation like we just talked about. So, um, if you like a cold bath, it's soothing, it calms your nerves, it whatever, go for it. Go jump, go do the polar plunge, knock yourself out. But if you're doing that just because you think it's going to make your muscles grow bigger, then I don't think that's necessarily the case. So, cool. Great questions. That was fun. That was a good conversation on the recovery side of things. I like those questions. I appreciate you guys for jumping on for the Christmas Eve here for me, and hopefully you are enjoying the time off if you get the time off. Um, Go have a great one. Go eat lots of great food. Great questions as always. I appreciate you guys. Happy holidays wherever you are. Stay safe, stay awesome, keep doing great things. I'll see you guys in 2 weeks. Um, be good. Go do great things. You guys are great. Thanks for jumping on. See you soon. Bye, Jody. Go Sixers. Go Eagles.